BC had this BC 150 big celebration, and it was a province-wide 1,000 event type of huge celebration. And then I found out in his website and also through his various celebrations that there was hardly any mention to Chinese or his history on this land. So I started finding, looking and searching for sources of history, and I couldn't find a whole lot apart from novels and some papers and so on. So through the Aboriginal people, then I managed to look into the various heritage sites which before were unknown to the Chinese community along the Fraser Canyon. And there were plenty of them, and that convinced me, after 10 or so visits up that way, that convinced me that we not just had a rich history on this land, but we contribute a whole lot in very serious ways to the infrastructures and wealth of this province. So that was a beginning. And then while we were working on the Fraser Corridor, then suddenly people alert us to the fact that in New Westminster, they have this high school which was about to be reconstructed and which happened to be built on top of a Chinese cemetery. This is the part of the New West Secondary School that was built on top of the Chinese cemetery way back in 1948. Now it stretches from right about here all the way to the end of this block, and it goes much deeper that way. And this whole issue was what sparked our interest in the history of New West. The school happened to be, or the existing school happened to be sitting on top of three cemeteries. One was Chinese, the other two were non-Chinese. And their plan was to designate or redesignate the two non-Chinese cemeteries as cemeteries, whereas the Chinese cemetery they would redesignate it as heritage conservation area. And to us, that's racially based protection. And to us, that's not acceptable. So that's why we invite the bigger community to submit their responses in. And we did that through a specially designated website. I find that really strange to have a school built on top of a Chinese cemetery. So we start researching again into the history of how that happened, and that led us into the discovery of a bigger history of New West, the city of New West, with respect to the Chinese. And it's through that understanding that we approached the city of New West in 2009, June, and inviting them to go into a process of reconciliation with the Chinese community, because we felt that what happened was so serious that we cannot really just let it go by as if nothing had happened. They did their own research. They assigned, quite a few of their staff to look into it. And lo and behold, by spring this year, 2010, they produced, 37 pages of just highlights of past policies, the city's policy that were discriminatory towards the Chinese. And then on their own accord, they also invite inputs from the general population, as well as to consult with several Chinese organizations, including us. And through that, they, again, on their own accord, passed 10 redemptive actions. And 2 of them, they actually executed on September the 20th this year in the form of a formal apology to the Chinese community. And that was a first for any Canadian cities. BC certainly had been the province among all provinces that have been pushing for limiting or restricting the immigration and employment opportunities for Chinese. So in so many different ways, the province really need to do the right thing and owe up to acknowledging our history. And it's at the basis of equality, I think, for the future of generations.